Okay, welcome back. It's a new school year. We're so excited. And one of the first things I want to do is to really break down the CSEC English Literature syllabus. We have to really simplify things because sometimes I get complaints that nobody likes English literature, nobody wants to do all of that reading. But sometimes it's because we are not breaking down the syllabus into chunks that makes it really digestible. And we look at all of this reading material that we have to study and then you get overwhelmed. That's not how to do it. So the first thing you want to do is to break the syllabus into the three parts. You have your prose, which will be your short stories, which you would have begun in third form. So if you remember reading the stories like The Two Grandmothers, you may have read Barry, you may have read Georgia and those other states. If you remember those short stories, hopefully those short stories sound familiar because you should have been studying them from third form. That is the prose part. Even though there are so many short stories that you have to study, the good news is that they are in categories. So the first tip, and this is one of the most important things you can do, is to study your short stories in categories. Okay, so if you realize, okay, all of these short stories about racism, you study those together, because a huge part of the exam is that you are going to be asked to compare and contrast stories that have similar themes. That's the first thing. The other thing, the other aspect of the paper is poetry, and I know that sometimes poetry tends to be sometimes the most challenging part of the paper, and I do understand that because sometimes it is written so metaphorically that it can be difficult to understand. But just like your short stories, the poems are also in categories. So study your poems in categories. Do not just pick poems at random. It makes it more difficult. You can go online or get the list from myself of the categories of poems and study from there. Okay? And the last part is actually my favorite part. The drama portion of the paper is, to me, it's really nice. There are two dramas you usually have to study. Depending on what school you are at, you may have to do Tijon and his brothers, or you may have to do Anansi, and both of them are good. Both of them, to me, are easy reads. There's lots of information available on them. So those are the three parts: your prose, your poetry, and your drama. But what should you know when you are studying your poems, your prose, or your drama? Immediately, one of the first things that's going to pop out to you would be your characterization, because you always have to find out, okay, well, who is this poem about? Who is this story about? And something that I want to hammer home is character development or characterization. When this character is introduced, what do we notice about this person? Because the characterization gives us a serious glimpse into the conflict that will arise. So what is it that this person is struggling with? That's a major question. What is this person struggling with? Okay? The other thing would be the theme. So in many of the literature that you will have to study, we're going to see a lot of racism come up, or what we call the colonial experiences. So we're looking at the Caribbean experience of people who moved from the Caribbean. You're going to see this so much, I promise you. Put money on this, okay? You're going to see this a lot. You're going to see a lot of people who moved from the Caribbean to either the United States, the UK, or Canada. And a lot of the work is about those people recording their experiences and how they were treated as immigrants, or the differences between the Caribbean environment and the European or the US or the Canadian environment, okay? And the last part is going to be the moods. So when we read about these characters, their experiences, and the themes that are coming about, is it told with a mood of sadness? Is it sorrow? Is it upbeat? Is it happy? All of those things are what we want to look at, because that is how we are able to put our pieces together. Okay? So that's a general overview of how the syllabus is set up, so you can be prepared for that. Now let's get into some of the work we are going to be studying.